My name's Heather. I'm a registered professional counselor and a certified life coach, and I focus on breakups. And I've been doing this for, it's coming up 10 years.
A decade.
Oh, wow.
I'm Kevin, also known as the Relationship Guru on TikTok. I am a registered clinical counselor. Overall, I've been working in mental health for, I would say, almost 20 years now.
2 decades.
2 decades, yes. My focus is relationship issues. So the question that we have today is a question that we get a lot of.
A lot.
I've recently gone through a breakup, or I've gone through a breakup some time ago, but I'm struggling to move on. What now?
It's very individualized, I find, because everyone processes their breakup and their grief, because it is grief, differently.
That's right. I can have someone that I see in my individual practice, and they come and say they went through a recent breakup, and a month later, they've moved on. I had other people who say it's been 5 years since the breakup happened, and I'm still struggling to move on. There's so many factors that we have to take in. Is like, how long were you with the person? How did the breakup happen? What we want you to know is that there's really no time frame. Research can say that after 3 months, you'll start to feel a little bit better after a breakup. That's for couples that were together for maybe a shorter period of time. And for someone who's been together with their partner for a very long time, it can sometimes take even more than a year to start to feel a little bit better. But we also know people that it can be anywhere from a couple weeks to 10 years.
And I think one of the most important things is to not judge yourself, right? If you feel that it's taking longer to get over your relationship or your ex, be gentle with yourself. When it comes to breakups, it's really hard because we get the messages where it's like, oh, it's just a breakup. It's not like a divorce. Yeah. It's not like someone passed away, and therefore you should be able to get over it faster, but that's not necessarily the case. A lot of the times when it comes to breakups, it's overlooked.
It's definitely overlooked. It's actually something that we don't really talk about. If you think about it, all of us at one time are going to have our heart broken. It's interesting. If you listen to all the songs are about heartbreak. It's like growing up, you don't talk about it. We don't talk about, hey, there's a good chance that you're going to have to experience this and what the pain is going to feel like. Heartbreak is for us is try to normalize. That is something that a lot of us are going to go through. So what we want to do is first, like Heather said, is be very kind and don't judge yourself and don't listen to others like, oh, you need to move on, or, oh, this is for the better, this is for the best that you guys did break up. Because your friends are obviously your best friends and families, and they're going to always try to help and motivate you. And a lot of times when I see someone in my practice is I'm just going to let them that first session just grieve the breakup. Sit there and talk about it. A lot of clients, obviously, they cry and they're very upset and they're very emotional. Because I feel, in society, a lot of times we're especially if you're reaching out to family and friends, they just want to fix it. Let's get you going. Let's get you dating again, or let's get you out there. That's not always what someone's looking for. They just want to be able to grieve the loss.
Yeah, you got to give yourself the time and the space to grieve. And that means sitting with your feelings. And it's going to be uncomfortable because sometimes it can be. I also have clients who are like, I think I'm just going to download some dating apps and then this is going to help me move on faster. And so they download all these dating apps and they are swiping right or left. I'm not too sure how it works, but they're swiping and they're trying to ignore those feelings of grieving.
A lot of times what I find is just a temporary fix. It's like, so when someone does that, it's because they just don't want to be able to, and I understand, is sit there alone with their emotions if they have no one else to reach out to. So they start to date again, sometimes, way too soon. And then 30 days, they're kind of putting off the heartbreak, hoping that this person will kind of help, mend the broken heart. And they might not even necessarily like whoever the new people are that they are dating, but they're just hoping that'll fast forward and heal the scars from the broken heart. I don't really recommend dating right away. Again, if someone just says, hey, that's what always works for me, and every time I go through a breakup, this is just what I do. I date someone. Okay, well, that's fine. If that works for you, then totally do it. But for most people, from my experience, it doesn't work, and they're just kind of prolonging the heartbreaks. And sometimes that also happens too, is when you date too quickly. A lot of times when you're on that date, all you're really doing is thinking about the person that you were with, right?
Yeah.
You start missing the person even more because you start comparing.
If you haven't processed those feelings, they will come out one way or another. A lot of times people keep in touch with their ex, and it's harder to move on because you're constantly seeing them, in touch with them. And also with social media nowadays, I feel like it's much harder to get over someone.
20 some years ago, when I was in a relationship, you broke up and there's really no way that you could actually really follow the person around. There was no Facebook, there was no Instagram. It didn't exist. So when you broke up, you just kind of broke up. And if you bumped into that person around town, maybe you did, but there's a good chance that you might not ever see the person again. But now it's very hard when it's right in front of your face. It breaks their heart even more when they find out that the other person's out there having a good time.
Yes, or that they moved on. They started
on.
seeing someone. The other thing that is also really important is I would ask them, what is the story that you're telling yourself? A lot of the times I find with my clients is the ones who tend to be stuck or are having a hard time moving on are the ones that are telling themselves like, oh, they were the love of my life. I ruined it. Clients who have been broken up with for some time, but they're still not getting past their heartbreak. They feel like they can't talk to their friends or their family anymore because they're afraid of this judgment. It's been X amount of time. I should already be over them. So I don't want to talk to anyone else about it. And that can also make processing the feelings harder. Initially,
the friends are there for them to support them. And they'll say that, that was great, but it's now been, a couple of months, 3 months and 4 months, and they don't really want to listen, or I don't want to burden them anymore with this type of stuff. And so this is where it becomes difficult because not everybody can afford to go see a therapist.
Yeah.
Right. Not everybody wants to open up to strangers on the internet and join. There's groups out there, but not everybody feels comfortable doing that. So they are stuck a lot of times, with a lot of these emotions that they're bottling up, and then it can start to come out in different ways, and feeling depressed or feeling anxious. Everybody's experienced heartbreak, so don't ever feel like you actually are annoying some of your friends, because there's going to be at least a friend or a family member who might be going through the same thing. So don't be afraid to open up to some of your family and friends about that if you feel like you're getting that type of support. For me, with my clients, I'm a huge advocate of self-love. I know that's always easier said than done, but what are ways after the breakup that you can really start to build your self-esteem? There might be something you were able to do, or something that you really wanted to do, and that your partner never really wanted to do with you or didn't allow you to do it. So, I have clients that, hey, after they broke up, they actually went and started, trying to do skydiving, even some extreme sports, or they picked up hobbies or something that they thought they never would do. They go back to school. I try my best to start motivating clients. After the grieving is done, the initial shock wears off, and the anger that this happened, and maybe even some of the bargaining, hopefully I can get this person back. I try to move them through those stages and say, hey, how can we find the motivation to get you up and going and really start to be comfortable with who you are?
I try to remind my clients, like, the relationship that you have with yourself is the one that you're going to have for the rest of your life. So you want to make sure that it's a strong relationship. Do what you can to strengthen that relationship with yourself after the breakup.
It also sometimes depends on the breakup, right? How did the breakup happen? People change over time and then you just kind of grew apart? Or was it something traumatic that did happen? Did someone cheat on someone? Did someone just out of nowhere said, I don't want to be with you anymore, and a week before they were saying that I want to spend the rest of my life with you? I've had that happen before where someone said, I don't get it, I'm so confused. A week ago we were talking about maybe even getting married, and now a week later we broke up. I go back to Heather was saying is be kind to yourself, because sometimes that can make a huge difference in how you're going to respond to that breakup. And to be honest, with a lot of my clients is, I do say, hey, focus on the things that you didn't like about the person.
Yeah, focus on things that didn't work. Because when we start putting our ex on a pedestal, that's also something that can get us stuck. Yeah. It's like we still see them with those rose-colored glasses. If you take a realistic look at the relationship, you'll probably find some flaws.
Right. So those are some things we do to help guide you through the recovery process. Some clients say to help them move on is they go to their social media page and they delete everything that's on there of the person, or they start storing away memories. They throw them in storage, or they get rid of them altogether.
It's really up to you, but I think it's important to kind of not have it visibly there to remind you constantly.
Right. Really what we want to tell you is that, when it comes to heartbreak, there really is no time frame when you're going to get over the heartbreak. Everybody's different. It's all individualized. We do encourage you to not be afraid to reach out for help and reach out support. Please know that you're definitely not alone, and start trying to take some of these steps that we talked about today to help you move forward.
And if you feel like you do need extra support, therapy is definitely a great option.
I hope you find that some of this was helpful. We invite you to put your questions in the comment section. This is something that Heather and I want to do moving forward, is we'd like to answer some of your questions. We'll pick the questions that seem to be the most relevant to the majority of people.
Feel free to subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications of new videos that we do post. We might pick your question to answer, and you definitely don't want to miss that.